Hi there, my name's Adam Barnes and I'm a photographer. I take photographs of landscapes, architecture, street photography and portraiture. And I'm here to give you some tips on how to produce some great photographs just on a smartphone. No other equipment needed, best camera is the one you have with you. And we'll also cover little things like composition, cropping and position. It's great to be, for instance, getting low down to take a photograph of beach or a close-up detail of something that pretty much everyone else will miss. If you look for these little details, you can get some great, interesting photographs. We'll also have a look at producing some black and white photography. Now, this can take what might appear to be a very mundane, boring photograph and really create something quite dynamic that you didn't even realise existed. I use this an awful lot, I have to say, for street photography. That moment you capture someone just looking at their phone or petting their dog. In black and white, suddenly it turns into a different photograph. And finally, I'll show you how to produce some really interesting different effects that really capture people's imaginations and eye on social media. These do sometimes have a bit of a cost behind them, but lots of them you can do a certain amount for free. And hopefully you'll have a lot of fun with them. Now, some photographs of some furry friends. These are our dogs, Connie and Darcy, and getting them to sit there and look like this was a challenge. But I think the composition is great. And here's Ozzy with amazing eyes, Dalmatian that just had to be in black and white. Now, they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I'll leave it as that. And this was a little dog on Lowestoft beach that just had so much character, I had to capture his little face. Now onto some seascapes, and one of my favourite photographs I think I've ever taken of a wave breaking in front of Southwold Pier. I waited there for quite a few hours with some wet feet. And now a couple taken in Lowestoft holding the camera at a low angle, shooting the sunrise to capture some beautiful light and atmosphere. If you can get up for sunrise over the coast, wow, you'll get some fabulous photographs. There's no one around at that time either. Now, two similar shots capturing extreme detail in the foreground and defocusing the background creates a brilliant atmosphere and an almost three-dimensional feel. Now I'll show you a few ways to take a simple photograph and really enhance it for your social media and or anything else you want to use it for, really. So I like to use a program called Lightroom. Now I do subscribe to this, so I get a few more features, but you can download the free version. And as I say, a lot of the effects I'm going to use are all either built into the editing app on an iPhone or an Android phone or a tablet. So just because I'm showing you in one application doesn't mean you can't find and do something very similar in many other apps. So I'm going to choose a photograph here that is easy to take around the house. Don't have to go out. I'm going to choose a bowl of fruit. Now I'm going to show you some very, very simple edits on this. I'm going to go straight down to the menu at the bottom of the phone, and as you can see we've got auto, light, colour, effects and so on. I generally tend to steer clear of auto, although it's a very quick way of producing a interesting image. It can be a bit of a blunt knife. So I like to go into something like light and then find the shadow and bring a bit more detail out of the photograph, as you can see. And very, very simply, I also like to go to the effect panel here, and you'll find something called vignette. Now this creates a sort of halo around your object and can really focus someone's eye to the center of the screen, like so. Now you can overdo it, and it kind of looks like you're looking through a pinhole, which you want to avoid. But I always take it all the way and then bring it back, take it all the way again, and then find a place in between where you think that works rather well. I then like to go across to the colour palette and find vibrance.
This is where you can really boost some colours and really get a bit more depth. And again, you might want to push it all the way up, which is too far, and then slowly bring it back until you're comfortable. And then, just play around with it a little bit. And you've also got something called saturation. Again, you can go over the top, but you can bring it back and find a really good area. And this can give you a really warm, inviting image. One extra thing I should mention is that most of these apps let you click in the center of the picture and see what the picture looked like before you started editing, like so. And as you can see, we've made a real difference. Now, I might have overdone it a little bit just for the purpose of this video, but you can see there a massive difference, and it's a much more inviting and, let's face it, appetizing image. And here's a few examples of using a very similar technique. These were all taken in Lowestoft at the first Light Festival. Here you can see the animatronic elephants that walked up and down the front. Now, I just wanted to capture them as naturally as I could, so I haven't over edited any of them, just bringing out a bit more detail in the shadows and using the vignette effect and a little bit of colour boost, as we've already seen. And here, using a panoramic shot, which is a group of 3 or 4 photographs stitched together, I've captured the view from inside the stage out, being careful not to over or underexpose the inside or the outside. It would be very easy to make something either too bright or too dark here. Just takes a bit of time, bit of thought, and using the vignette and boosting the shadow detail, this really works. Finally, an image that was used by the first Light Festival in some of its posters in the top end of town shows the Burning Man early in the morning, 4 o'clock, again capturing great light and lots of detail, but not overdoing any of it, keeping it all as natural as possible. And now back for a very quick tutorial on how to make what looks like a very dull sky really, really pop out. I'll give you a quick tip on how to turn what could be a very dull photograph into something quite moody and dramatic. Taking this for example, taken in Lowestoft, although we've got a dramatic sky in the background, it would be great to make that really, really pop out. So I'll just pop into effects and a little thing called dehaze, which when you move it up really brings out the difference in the sky. And you take it down a little bit just to get it right. And there you go. Suddenly you've got a really dramatic shot. We could then just add a little bit of vignette to focus the eye in the middle, and it's a really moody, dramatic shot that would look great on Instagram. And as you can see, the results are quite dramatic. So here's another little tutorial on how to make your furry friends a little bit more Instagram friendly. So here we go, we have a little friend's dog here, looking rather sweet. Again, I've taken the shot low down to give that dramatic feel. And we'll go in and adjust a few settings. So I'll go straight into light. What we can do is zoom in, for instance, into the eyes. And we can just bring up the shadow detail. And then highlight, just to bring a bit more pop into the whole image. Let's brighten it up and you can see into the eyes of the dog. We can then go across to colour and bring a bit more vibrance, which will bring the foliage up in colour, and then move across to effects and bring that vignette in, just focusing in into the centre of the screen to draw the eye in. Then I think all we need is to crop in a little bit to get rid of some of the foreground, some of the floor in front of the dog. So we'll go to crop and just lift up from the bottom. Might move across to keep the dog in the frame, a bit of the flower pot, and then press done. And suddenly you've got a really friendly close-up of your furry friend. A great fun little app I use a lot is called Pixel Loop. As you can see, I'll open it up and I've already chosen that image that I'd edited earlier, but wouldn't it be great if we could make that sky actually move? Well, in this you can. So what you do is go to Animate in the bottom left and you choose Select. So we need to select what we want to animate. So I'm going to paint the sky. So like so, very quickly painting the sky. Anything not in here won't move. So now if I then click Direction and then put some arrows in like so, that means it's going to move the sky in that direction. Now if I press play, you can see it's starting to move. Now I'll come out of the editor piece and there we go. If I zoom in, you can see the cool effects. Now how about having some rippling water in there? Well, we're covered. Down the bottom left again, there is water, and I'll click number 4. Now it might not look like it's done much, but if I zoom in, you can see the water rippling. Now this can look fantastic and really capture people's eye on social media. We can completely change the sky also by clicking Sky and then selecting the special effects that can look completely different. Now this is a paid app, but there are some free elements to it and it's great fun. Now I'd like to show you how to take what appears to be a fairly simple image, but making it black and white can make all the difference. Now I've got a few here, but I'm going to choose this window shot with a small statue. Now what I'll do is go straight into colour, straight down to vibrance, take it all the way down, straight down to saturation, take it all the way down, and it's instantly black and white. But to help matters, I'm going to go into light, go to shadow, and give us more detail in the shadow straight away. Then I'm going to go to effects and something called clarity. I'm going to bring that way up. Then I'm going to go down to something called grain and give it some grain. Now if I zoom in, you'll see in the background what grain does, and it basically emulates film when there were film cameras used more often. Now I will also add a vignette, not too much of one, just a little one, and then suddenly the whole image looks so different and really stylish. So this is what it was, and this is what it looks like now. Going back to what I said earlier about a boring, mundane photograph, this wasn't the most interesting scene, but in black and white, just looks fabulous. Well, I think so. And speaking of black and white photographs, here's some from London. Just observational photographs of things happening. For instance, an extremely scary clown that was a street performer. Was great fun to capture his photograph. Then I photographed a leather worker in Camden and just capturing him through the open door with the light just looks wonderful. And finally, in the black and white photographs a pearly king in Aldborough, of all places. My partner noticed him and I just couldn't help but want to capture such a character. Now I'd just like to wrap this up with a couple of things on social media. I use 2 social media platforms to share my artwork to, Instagram and Stella. You probably all know Instagram, and I'm on here. You can find me on Adam MJ Barnes. I've been on here for a long time, so I've got a lot of followers, and I've done a lot of posts, and I've done a lot of work to get that many. I interact with people, talk to people, which is the best way to do it, and that keeps it a great community of like-minded artistic people. I also use Stella. This is a great app for photographers, brilliant to tell a story. And as you can see, you open up and you flick through, you can put text and your photographs, and you can share them to websites, and it's a really, really great place, really friendly, lots of people. Now again, I've been on here since the beginning, so I've built up over 120,000 followers, but everyone's got to start somewhere, so get on some of these platforms, show some of your work, keep going, keep trying, and give NessFest a shout out on your social media, and hope you enjoy your photography.